Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Coffee Time. This is episode number 63 with former MLB outfielder Brian Hunter, first baseman, etc. Came up with the Braves. How are you doing tonight? Thank you for joining us.
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
So let's get right to it. I'm sure you're still into the game. I gotta ask you, you were called up in the early 90s. You went through the first strike. Now you know about this one. You saw this one coming last year like everybody else did. When do you think it'll be done and over with and that players will finally be able to go back on the field?
Um, I really haven't been keeping that much into it, but hopefully, I came up in early '90s. The first year in big league camp was 1990. We were on strike, and then the big strike in '94 when I was playing, and we missed the World Series. So it's never fun to go on strike. Hopefully they can get this together and hopefully be ready by at worst the middle of spring training.
I hope so too. Well, like you said, you were drafted by the Braves in the eighth round of the '87 draft. What do you remember about that draft? Did you know you were going to be in the eighth round, or did you think you were going to go earlier in the draft?
Well, it's definitely different than it is as it is now. Back in the day they had the winter draft and all that type of stuff. The funny thing about it is I didn't get any paperwork from the Braves. I got paperwork from Detroit, the Expos, and Houston. Didn't even talk to a scout from the Braves, and know it was a Brave scouts coming to my games. And we came back from maybe like 2 days from coming back from winning the junior college state championship in California. And the Brave scout called me and said, "You got drafted in the eighth round."
Wow, that's something. So you didn't hear anything at all up until then?
Not at all. Not from the Braves at all. I pretty much barely knew it was the draft coming up. I knew it was coming, but I didn't really pay attention to it too much. I was really concentrating on going to college.
Wow. So, later on in your career, you appeared in three World Series in 91, 92, and 99 with obviously the Braves, those powerhouse Braves, with guys like Smoltz, Glavine, Jones, both the
Hmm.
Joneses. Uh, Take us through those World Series appearances and winning those World Series. What did that mean for you as a player, winning the World Series?
Well, I didn't. I didn't win. I wasn't on the '95 team. I was in Cincinnati, and they beat us in '95. 91, 91 was my rookie year. That was the worst to first. The Twins and the Braves were in last place in '90, and we ended up making it to the World Series in '91. So that was crazy. Being a rookie, being counted on to do as much as I was able to do my rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
92, we went back to back, which was another crazy thing. It was another great series against the Pirates in the NLCS. We won on the Francisco Cabrera base hit, in Game 7. So that one was just as exciting. So I'm first 2 years in the big leagues, first 2 years in the World Series, and I'm 0-2 in the World Series. So I'm like, that's crazy. Then I get traded in '94, bounce around to a couple teams, and then I come back to the Braves in '99, and she's
Yeah, that. Can you hear me? I lost you. Uh-oh. Hey, can you hear me?
hello.
Okay, much better. Much better. I can hear you now. Okay. So, if you can repeat what you just said, couldn't hear what you because unfortunately broke up somehow. But go ahead and repeat what you were saying.
Do you hear me again?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I just can't see you right now, but that's okay. Yeah, when I came back in '99 to come back to the Braves, we ended up making it to the World Series again. And that's when we had both the Joneses, and that was very exciting. Chipper Jones won MVP in 2000, so that was great also to be a part of that. So I've been a part of some great teams, and I was happy, the Braves were able to make it and win a World Series this time.
What do you remember about the Game 5 of the 91 series, your rookie year? You
Game
remember,
five.
you remember what you did?
Well, I don't know if I mean I remember game 7 I hit the home run to put us ahead, in 91. So that's one of my biggest accomplishments in
Yep.
baseball for myself is hitting a home run in game 7. I don't really know what I can't remember what I did in game 5. Were you referring to game 7?
This says Game 5. I guess this was wrong. So yeah, Game 7. Then you hit the home run because
Yes,
it's
I hit a
a home
2-run
run.
home run in the first inning, and also drove in another run. I think in about the 6th or the 7th. We won 4-0. Smokes threw a great game, a complete game, and I drove in 3 runs that game out of the 4.
That's crazy because you looks like you beat them. You squashed them 14-5. So that was a good game for you guys.
Oh well. Oh, I think the game 5 is I may hit a home run in game 5 also. So it's that's a long time ago. That was 1991. So I'm still trying to remember stuff.
You're good. No worries. Um, so then yeah, the one that you're referring to, you hit the deciding Game 7 home run championship series at Three Rivers Stadium, if this is indeed correct, what I'm reading, against the Pirates at three. What was it like playing at that kind of stadium, which I know is a football stadium,
Mm-hmm.
and it was turf? You don't see that anymore. How hard is it to play on was it to play on those kind of fields?
Well, back then, a lot of the fields were, even in Atlanta and Fulton County, that was a football stadium also. A lot of the fields were cookie cutter fields, and they all looked the same from the outside. And
Mm,
playing on turf back in the '90s, it was just like some green stuff that they put on cement. It was so hard. The balls came off of there so fast. It was you really had to watch the seams. The seams were a little bit higher than the turf, so that was dangerous. But I was in the big league, so I had no complaints.
there you go. There you go. So like you said, you jumped around quite a bit before ending your career with the Braves. Um, is there any other memorable moments you got from that career besides your call up and your home runs in your playoff career? Was there any other moments you had that you remember?
I mean, it's a lot of moments. Like I said, I played with a lot of players. I played with a lot of Hall of Famers. A lot of my managers were Hall of Famers, end up being Hall of Famers. Played with a few MVPs.
Mm,
So being on that first 90 Braves team, that 91, 92, 93, we had some really superstars on that team. It was a different era. We played on TBS. We played every single day, was on TV. So
mhm.
that was exciting. My mom got to watch the games back in California every day. um, it was just an exciting time, to be, doing something that you always dreamed to do, was to be a Major League Baseball player. So, I mean, I think every day that I was in the big leagues, it was amazing, and it was something to look forward to, and it's just something that I would always cherish.
So when you make your debut on May 31st, uh, did you have goosebumps? Do you remember it to this day? Uh, and who told you were going to get the call up?
Um, totally remember it. Every step of the way. I was in Richmond, Virginia. Um, it was a Thursday night. We finished playing. The Braves were out there playing a 4-game series in San Francisco. I think it was the players on our team. It was their birthday, so we were all, watching the game at 10 o'clock. in Richmond, Virginia, and then shoot, Skip Carey said over the thing, Francisco Cabrera just got sent down. Somebody's
Mhm.
getting called up, but
Mhm.
nobody knew who it was going to be. So that was like, man, somebody's getting called up tomorrow, so one of you guys are going to be gone. And after the little party was over, I went back to my apartment, and about 3:30, 4 o'clock, the trainer called me and said, I got called up. Come get your stuff. You got to catch the first flight out of Richmond to get to San Francisco.
Now, that was your debut. Now, your last game ended up being October 1st of 2000 for the Phillies. Did you know it was time to call it quits after that game?
Not at all. I wasn't even thinking about not playing anymore. Um, I was dealing with some injuries. After that season, I had to get reconstructive ankle surgery.
Mhm.
So that was like a major setback going into spring training. I went back to spring training with the Phillies in 2001, but in the middle of spring training, I tore my quad on the same leg. So it wasn't in my thought process to, call it quits. It was just the injuries caught up to me at the end of my career. So that was one of the main reasons why I hung him up a little bit.
Now, you had a career average of 234. Uh, do you remember like any stats of who you dominate against, like pitcher wise? Who'd you have the most struggles with, and who'd you dominate the most? Do you have any idea throughout your career?
I faced Dennis Martinez was very tough on me. He used to work me over a little bit. I think I got a couple hits off of him. Randy Johnson, I think I'm 2 for 9, home run and a single with 7 strikeouts. Um, just I was a platoon player, so I played a lot against left-handers. So
Hmm.
I pretty much did pretty good against most left-handers that I got to face. It was just a time when, when I had to face right-handers from not seeing them as much as I did in the minor leagues, I struggled a little bit.
Now, let's transition into what's it take to be a hitter and a mindset of a hitter. You were obviously a hitter. Uh, how difficult is it when you're up there at bat and you got the crowd going with you or against you? How tough is it as a batter to go through all that?
You know what? You really don't hear it. I didn't at all. I was so concentrated and so focused on what I had to do, to help the team win or get a hit or anything like that. I really didn't hear the fans.
Mhm,
The only time I heard the fans was when I got traded to Pittsburgh in '94, and they didn't have that many fans in the stands.
mhm.
And I can hear the hot dog guy saying, "Do you want some hot dogs? I got some hot dogs here." And I was like, "Come on now, how can I hear this?" But that was coming from the Braves when we had a sold out house every night. You
Mhm.
when it's sold out, you really don't hear anything I didn't hear anything when I was hitting.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right. It just depends on, yeah, true. You would think though, you would think you would hear it most when you have a sellout crowd, though. You would think.
It's just, what, it's you just hear a natural buzz. I'm not saying people aren't talking, but it's just so many people talking, so much noise being made. It's just a natural buzz.
Oh yeah, true. True. So let's transition into a little bit. You obviously played before analytics got highly involved. Uh, Compared to nowadays, do you think you do well in this day and age if you played?
You know what? I I think they don't really care about on base percentage anymore. So, I didn't really strike out that much, but if I could go up there and not really worrying about striking out and going for home runs every time and don't worry about getting on base, I think I would be a little more relaxed at the plate.
Well, there you go. There you go. I just don't like how it's like so analytics driven. Like, I mean, you played in the '90s where it really wasn't. I mean, you would take the single and be happy with it, or a double. You'd be happy with that. Nowadays, you don't. It's either strikeout, walk, or a home run, and that's it. Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's not baseball. It's very hard for me to watch right now. You're not moving runners over. You're not bunting for hits. I think I'm an old head now. And I played in the '90s. I
Yeah.
had coaches that played in the '70s, and they used to tell us, in the '90s that we didn't know what was going on.
Right.
Um, but it's very hard baseball to watch because that wasn't the kind of baseball I was brought up and how I was taught to play. So, very seldom, I can watch a full game. I like to watch hitters. So if I can catch a hitter hitting at a certain time, I'll watch this at bat. But very seldom I can sit down and watch a full game.
Now, what about elements like dealing with rain and if it is in the early time, like springtime, sometimes where you where you have snow and you're dealing with the cold and wind. How difficult is it to play in elements, play the game of baseball in those kind of elements? Is it really difficult?
You're talking to a Southern California boy where it really doesn't rain that much out here. So, in the rain and in the minor leagues in April when the season starts, and in the big leagues, it's freezing.
Mm.
Um, I didn't like to wear sleeves. So, when it's cold like that, you got to put sleeves on. So that was the biggest thing for me mentally to get over was putting on sleeves and extra stuff to try to stay warm. So that really affected, me mentally more than it did my game. Um, but like I would always say in the minor leagues, my first couple years in the minor leagues, if I could hit 200 in April and May, I would be all right. Because once it got hot and I can take these sleeves off, I'm gonna start rocking and rolling.
Now, obviously, like you said, you bounced around in position wise. Did you have a particular position that you enjoyed playing better than the other positions?
Probably would be outfield. I played first base my whole life, from pretty much 8 years old all the way until I got to the big leagues. I dabbled like one full year in Double A in '89. I played outfield. The next year, actually from '89 till I got called up to the big leagues, I was an outfielder.
Hmm.
I loved playing the outfield. It was so much fun. You can talk to the fans. You can work on your batting stance in between pitches. Out there. Playing first base mentally, you're always in the game. You're pretty much getting something thrown at you. Every other batter, if not every batter, depending on your pitcher. So for me, I was more relaxed when I got to play the outfield.
There you go. So I want to transition to a little bit. I'm sure you obviously knew you'd be tough to oblivious too if you're not a baseball fan. But your former team that you spent the most time with just won the World Series this past year. They they basically at the halfway point were dead last in the division and won the World Series. How tough is it to actually come from behind like that and win it all?
Um, Well, the only thing I can probably compare it to was, the '91 season. We were we were 10 games out of first place to start the second half of the season,
Mm,
and the Dodgers were in first place. We won 9 out of 10. The Dodgers lost 9 out of 10.
mm.
So from that point forward, every game, I'm pretty sure mentally every game to them was a playoff game before they got to the playoffs. So, and I also heard that, on the trading deadline, they had like a complete new outfield. So that was crazy that all those guys hit like they did in the playoffs and was
Yeah.
able to, carry that through in the playoffs and win the World Series. So I'm pretty sure that before the playoffs started, they were already in playoff mode, playoff, with their brain and how they were playing baseball. And that just carried over to the playoffs for them.
Now, do you see with baseball just previously was in the Olympics this past year? Do you see them bringing back baseball again in the next Olympics?
I would hope so. I would hope they would. But who knows what's going to happen? I think the baseball world really likes that. What's it called? The World Games or
Yeah,
whatever that they play now.
baseball classic. Yeah.
Yeah, the World Classic. I think they really like that. But it's hard for baseball players or really to use American pros because the Olympics is in the summer.
Mhm.
You almost can't even use minor leaguers. So it just depends on what they can do. But I would hope that they would bring baseball back for the Olympics.
Now, obviously, you played in the era of Commissioner C League, and I know you've seen what Manfred has done. I know you followed a little bit of his tenure. Uh, compared to what's different between them two?
Um, I also played in a different kind of era too in the '90s where, it was the steroid era also. It was, chicks dig the long ball. Um, and this era is just, this era is just totally different. It's a different type of baseball right now. Um, it's like the Ivy League. It's all Ivy League baseball right now. To where, when I was coming up and what I got to watch in the '70s and the '80s, and I played in the '90s, it was, grinded out. Come August, the dog days of the summer. It was that type of baseball where it was a grind. We
Mhm.
didn't have no playoff play-in game or anything like that. It was the National League West, the National League East. If you win that, you play the National League Championship, and you go to the World Series. But it's the times have changed. They have a playing game now, which I'm not a fan of,
Mhm.
and it's just different baseball. So I guess in each of the commissioners' era, each commissioner did the best that they can do for their era.
Now, do you obviously we're still in it, but last year it was pretty bad with no fans, COVID era especially. Do you think you would have held your own playing like what the players did last year with no fans, where you had to be on the edge of your seat, not going anywhere, strict rules? How would you have handled that as a player, like they did?
I think the hardest would have been the strict rules of not really leaving your hotel. But if that's what it would have took for us to play, I would have done it. Um, the playing part with no fans, that would have been similar to like the instructional league games that I came up in the minor leagues. We would play in the big stadiums in spring training, and there would be no fans in there, and you can just hear everything. So I would have mentally, I would have clicked back to that. Just so, okay, I'm playing the instructional league right now, even though it's a big league game. That's where my mind would have went. But I think the toughest thing would have been, just going to the game, get back on the bus, go straight to your room, stay in your room until you have to go to the game tomorrow. That would have been a little tough.
Now, like you said, you were obviously in the steroid era. Could you tell from a player standpoint if you knew somebody was juicing?
You couldn't really tell, but you could. I mean, if you just looked at numbers, a lot of us played against each other in the minor leagues, and we knew who had pop in the minor leagues and who didn't have it. Once we came up to the big leagues, you can tell in a couple guys' bodies. A couple guys' bodies were definitely effectively better. Um, Definitely couldn't tell with the pitchers, and I'm pretty sure pitchers did it just as much as position players, and especially relievers. Um, but you can tell in some guys' bodies, and then you can just look at numbers from power numbers. You can look at numbers from minor league numbers to when you got to the big leagues.
Now, besides the steroids, do you believe that there's been other kinds of cheating in the game besides of what the Astros and Red Sox got caught for? Do you still think that there's tons of cheating going on?
With the Red Sox and the Astros, what they were able to pull off, that was a little more than cheating. It's always, trying to steal a sign here or there, trying to see if somebody's doing something different, trying to pick up something from the pitcher. That's baseball. That's how we all been taught how to play. But
Mhm.
the Astros and the Red Sox took it to another level. To where I think they said the coaches had Apple Watches on, and it was all kind of stuff that was uncalled for, and in the olden days it would have you would have got taken care of for doing something like that.
Uh, if so, let's talk about a little about the Hall of Fame. Do you think some of the guys from the steroid era should be in the Hall of Fame?
Um, you know that's a tough question. Um, um, maybe another wing. But it's still a lot of guys who didn't get caught are in the Hall of Fame that people know that was on steroids. So
Mhm.
That's a tough question. I that was my era that I played against. Um, but shoot, I wouldn't mind if Pete Rose is in the Hall of Fame. Just because of what Pete Rose did for the game. But we have signs on every locker. You cannot bet on your team. So if he really did bet on his team, only Pete knows, and whoever was doing the investigation, only they know if he did that. And if you bet it on your team, you really can't be in the Hall of Fame if you bet it on your team, even if you bet it on them to win, which that's what I think Pete has been saying he did. But from the steroid era, um, I think it seems like the most of the Hall of Fame people are the people that are voting are really not voting for the people that they think had steroids but never got caught.
Mhm.
So they're making sure certain players aren't making it.
And that's what I was. Now that you said it, I was about to ask you that too. Uh, do you think the Hall of Fame should basically be off stats instead of what supposedly they did for the voting? Do you think that's what
Well,
the Hall of Fame?
with the way the game is now, the stats are ridiculous. So I don't know. These guys that are going to play for probably about the next 20 years, their stats are going to be so much better than everybody's. It's going to be totally different. So you really can't just go on stats anymore. Um, you know, it's just a tough call. The Hall of Fame for baseball has always been one of the toughest Hall of Fames to make. Um, so if you look that up, it's always been notorious of guys, really not are going it down to the last time they get to make it to the Hall of Fame to make it in any other sport. So baseball is really tough.
No, you're right on that. That's for sure. Um, so what are you doing nowadays? Are you coaching? Are you uh doing something with the organization? What, like most players do when they retire? What are you up to nowadays?
I used to scout. I scouted for 10 years, like from like 2003 to 2013. Um, and then I got two sons. I have a 25-year-old son and a 19-year-old son. My 25-year-old is playing football in Germany, and
Hmm.
my 19-year-old is graduating this year from high school. He's getting ready to go to San Diego State and play football, and maybe hopefully try to walk on the baseball team. I'm also every summer, the last 3 summers, I've been involved with the Major League Baseball Breakthrough Series.
Hmm.
Um, that's for inner city kids. They fly everybody out to Vero Beach, Jackie Robinson Stadium, and it's uh, all former black baseball players, former players that are working with young inner city kids, and we have them out there from all age groups for like a week at a time, and this is really fun. I have a great time doing that. Great time seeing all the old guys. Jerry Manuel is the head baseball instructor. Dale Matthews, he runs the program.
Hmm.
It's been a very enjoyable event for me to attend and help teach young kids how to play baseball.
Now you that led me to my next question. Now that you said that, since you're trying to help with that, why do you think? Um, why do you? I'm not trying to be, uh, the term I'm looking for. I'm not going to say it, but why do you think a lot of Americans aren't really playing baseball anymore? It's basically you see a lot more foreigners playing it. Uh,
You mean not a lot of Black Americans?
no, no. That's not what I'm. No, that's not what I'm. Just Americans in general, because you don't see a lot of them, especially in the majors anymore. You see mainly foreigners from other countries coming over to play, but no Americans playing.
um,
That's at least what I see.
well, I
Mm.
see I see I see a lot of white Americans and a lot of Latin players playing right now. Not too many African Americans are playing anymore. Um, it's 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 tough. I got on my, I'm starting to, trying to, think back, when I was coming up, in Southern California,
Mhm.
I was always the only, black kid on my all white team. Um, and then I think at this point right now, when I was coming up, it was you played every sport in that season.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's travel and year round sports. So, the kids who, like my youngest son, who could play baseball also, he's had a hard time to play baseball because of football, because football is year round.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that's a tough one. I would love to see, more young black players playing, baseball period, and then hopefully getting to make it into the big leagues. Like in the World Series, it was more black coaches and black players. It wasn't even no black. It was out of both teams. They didn't have a black player on the team, but it was more black coaches.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
so that, and then I've said in the past, if you look at if you look at Major League Baseball, where it's more white Americans and Latins, it's the same as the white player in the NBA basketball. They're from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that
Yeah.
many. It's not that many American white players that play NBA baseball. They're the white players that you see playing NBA baseball are from Europe.
Now, also, like you said, do you think it also most part is because it's so expensive to play?
It's so expensive. You figure at this point right now, you got to buy a bat, which for $500. You got to buy shoes. You got to buy a glove. You got to buy a uniform. You got to pay for the league. Now it's travel baseball, so per weekend, not too many black families can afford their kid to go, to Arizona or to Florida for the weekend and spend $1,500 for the weekend. So
Yeah,
it's very expensive.
it's crazy because yeah, like, uh, so what have you told your kids? Do you want them to personally get into uh playing what you played, especially the one that's playing baseball right now? Do you
I
is
just told
what
them to have fun,
is
and
this?
whatever they chose to do would be, I would be fun. I would have fun and being in the stands watching them. My oldest, he played he right as soon as he was getting ready to play baseball, the year round started.
Uh-huh.
So, and he was more of a football player than a baseball player, so he naturally gravitated towards football. My youngest, he's been able to play, just dibble back and forth. Luckily being able to be good enough in baseball to stick around. But it's hard in Southern California right now because you can play baseball year round, and it's baseball tournaments going on as we speak right now in Southern California because it's not raining out here.
Right. Right. And have they at least told you what they wanted to do yet with their careers? If they want to play
Well,
professionally?
my oldest is a professional football player in Germany. So
Ah,
that's
okay.
his
I
career
didn't think
right
there was
now.
football over
Yeah,
there.
shoot, I didn't think there was either until he found the league. He found a league to play in,
Wow.
and then
Wow.
my
Good for
youngest is
him.
getting ready to go to college.
Good for them. Good for them. I hope
Yeah,
I hope your oldest at least gets a chance over here to play instead of over
we'll
there in
see.
Germany. I didn't
I think his biggest thing was he would love to be able to go to Canada if he can make it to the Canadian Football League. That would be his
think
NFL for
CFL.
him.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Um, let's talk about All Star. What do you did you have a chance in your career to ever make an All-Star game?
I didn't make an All Star team. The closest I got to making an All Star team was '94 when I was in Pittsburgh, and the All Star game was in Pittsburgh, and
Mm,
they had to take in the All Star game they got to take one person from every team. So I
mm.
had a shot, but that year, Fred McGriff was a first baseman. Shoot, Andres Galarraga was doing good in Colorado, so it was tough to get in on the first base side.
Did you ever get to partake in like going there at all to witness it, or did you just
No,
stay?
in baseball is different than any other sport, especially basketball, where you see all the basketball guys at All Star Weekend. Baseball,
Mhm,
you got to figure we've been playing baseball since spring training. So when we
mhm.
get those 3 days off, if you're not an All Star, you're not worried about that All Star game.
True. I can see that one. Yeah, I can see that one. But I'm sure you would have loved to been in one, though.
Yeah, I would have loved it. I mean, I made them all the time in the minor leagues. So it would have been just the icing on the cake to make one in the big leagues.
Heck, even I'm sure you would have loved to have been in a home run derby, just getting an invite.
That too. That would have been fun.
That would have been fun. I mean, not many people can say uh but a few select have made their names in the home run derby.
Yep.
I mean, freaking what was it this past year, Vlad Guerrero's kid, he made his name in it.
Mm-hmm.
And Shohei Ohtani, guys like that. I mean, it's something. You make your
Yeah.
name, you get your name from it.
Yes, you do.
That like makes your career, don't it?
I mean, not necessarily makes your career, but that can lead to a couple endorsements.
Yeah, true. Did you have ever any endorsements going?
No, just a regular Nike deal for wearing Nikes.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So let's go with this. I gotta ask you now. Hold on, I'm getting that thought. Hold on a second. So now, hold on, I lost my train of thought. Okay, I got it. I finally got it. Okay, so for the kids that want to be in your shoes, that was in your shoes, playing the positions, playing as many positions as you did, what advice would you give them coming up?
First of all, we always got to talk about academics. Making sure your academics are on par so you're able to play. You just gotta find out what is your number one position. My number one position was first base. I knew I can beat anybody out at first base. I learned how to play the outfield in college, just by taking fly balls. But I was very studious of the game. The other thing I always say is the faster you can learn who you are, what you can and what you can't do, the better you'll be. So basically, what that is saying is whatever you're not good at, that's what you work on. But you try to stay away from that as much as possible. Whatever you're good at, that's what you try to do in baseball because we play this game every day. So you got to make sure you're good every day. So you got to stay away from the negative stuff. So if you had a bad game, you can't think about what you did bad. Hopefully you play good defense if you didn't hit. So just really concentrate on what you're good at, practice on what you're not good at. So really just try to stick with what you're good at. So that's what I would tell the kids today is whatever you're good at, really make sure that's really good. Because that'll help you in the long run.
What would you define in one word your career?
Team player.
There you go. I would say that. I mean, I would say you were from highlights I've seen. Of course, I was too young when you actually played, but I do remember you being a very good team player in the highlights. So
Yeah, total team player.
there,
That's 3 words, but total team player.
there you go. So was there a particular place besides Atlanta you enjoyed playing?
Always loved coming back to California. Loved playing in San Diego. It was always, it's always 7 degrees in San Diego. So it was always great coming back home and playing in San Diego.
Yeah, how'd you fare against San Diego? Those were the Tony Gwynn days, right?
Mm-hmm. Tony Gwynn games. I think I did pretty good. For some reason, I really did good against the Mets. The Mets and the Phillies, the teams in the East, I really did good against them for some reason. But it was a little tougher in LA because they didn't playing against the Dodgers. They really didn't have too many left-handed pitchers. So I was pretty much, not used at all in LA in front of my home fans, in front of my mom, in front of, family and friends. So I was always a little disappointed not getting to play that much at Dodger Stadium.
Did you ever get the chance to play against the? A lot of people are saying he's the greatest of my generation, and I'm 30. So, did you have a chance to play against Ken Griffey Jr.?
Yes, I played with Ken Griffey Jr. Played against Ken Griffey Jr. in the '87 summer, the summer of '87, no, summer of '86, Connie Mack World Series. I was 18, he was 16. He played for the Midland Redskins, and I played for the Norwalk Cardinals, and we beat them in the championship to win the Connie Mack World Series.
Well,
and I also played with him in '96 when I was in Seattle.
what do you remember playing alongside him? How was he as what's the word I'm trying to say? Was he a team leader? Basically, what I'm trying to say. Could you tell
Griffey Ken was he had the same exact swing as a 16-year-old as he had his whole playing career. Griffey was the kid. They called him the kid, and he was the kid. You know, it was crazy. You know how good, how much better he was than everybody. You know, he was just a natural. The Natural, the movie, The Natural, that could have been based after him also.
Now, is this true? What I'm seeing? You can tell me if it's not. But you have a brother that plays professional basketball.
No, it was my little sister that played in the WNBA.
Okay, so I got it wrong. Okay. Uh, is she still playing in the WNBA or has she retired?
She's retired.
How long did she play?
She played 5 years in the WNBA.
Oh, okay. For
Yeah,
what team?
she was one of the first California girls to go play at the University of Tennessee for Pat Summitt.
Oh, nice. Wow, one of a few. Well, okay,
Yeah.
I got one more question before I wrap. I know you got to wrap this up. I just got your text, so that's fine. We can do it. My last question to you is, okay, I asked this to everybody, so just go along with it.
Okay.
It's super early, super early. We haven't lived through the strike, been ended the strike yet. What teams would you want to see in next year's World Series, and who would you want to see win it?
True. I mean, since I'm a Braves through and true, I would hope for the Braves could repeat.
All right, and who would you like to see go up against them in the has the
The American League team.
League? Yeah.
I'm not an American League fan that much. I'm a National League guy, so it doesn't really matter who would come out the American League as long as the Braves beat them.
I figured you would say something like that, since you were an NL guy. I figured that one. I should have known that one.
Yeah.
But all right, it was fun. I'm going to wrap this up since you got to go. It was fun. I'll send you the copy of the episode as soon as we get off here. I'm glad you had spent the time to come on. You're more than welcome to come on anytime. But yeah, feel free to share it. If you know anybody else that wants to come on, give them send them my info. I'll have them on. But yeah, it was fun, and thank you again.
All right, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'll be sending you it as soon as we're done here.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Yeah.
That concludes the episode with Brian Hunter. Sorry, I lost. I couldn't figure up any questions. He pretty much went through them quickly, but managed to get through. He had to go. It was a good episode. Tune in next time. I don't know who I'm going to have on. We'll see. But definitely be around for that. Who knows? I think I might be having on Thursday another former major leaguer. I don't know yet. We'll say I have to get in contact with him. But until then, you all have a good night. Take care.